Kobil?
I think for us as a nation, for Kenya, we are getting used to this product much more, so we can see the usage. Getting stronger, the demand is stronger. For us, it's a great product. We are the biggest in terms of retail. Sales over the service stations in supermarkets of this commodity. There is a special focus on that. In line with lubricants. Lubricants and LPG going in tandem for us. You notice that recently we just signed a contract with the BP South Africa on being distributor for them for the next 10 years for Kenya, for Castrol brand. So these are the high yields products that we were focusing in the last few years. And it's just that we started realizing the fruits out of it. Again, on the commodities which are the jet, the diesel, and the gasoline, strict management of the inventory. That's what helped us to achieve those results.
Interesting. And looking at your turnaround strategy, you've also seen, compared to 2012, where you posted a losses of about 6.2 billion shillings, what were some of the lessons that you learned in as far as cost-cutting measures and just overall efficiency at the company level?
Yeah, many lessons. You know, it's only when you make mistakes you learn. We first in 2012 was a big story of hedging. As was clearly in our commentary by the board policy is we have a natural hedge. We managed to balance the basket of dollar-denominated loans versus the inflows of dollars we are getting from our customers, so it's well balanced, and for that reason the exchange loss was not big, although the Kenya shilling depreciated badly over the period, over 10%.
Correct.
So you can see that the balance on the dollar liabilities versus inflows, it's actually a natural hedge to our exposure to the currency. So this was managed well. In 2012, we entered to an hedging position, which went sour. It happens in business, so we decided not to take. So there is zero hedging position from the moment I took over the management of the group. Yeah, the loss was big in 2012. The beauty that this business, and this all about, and I'm hearing the buzz about KQ, if management will stay focused and staff and employees, and I'm blessed with the great Kenyan team in Kenya, but in all subsidiaries in 7 countries we are operating, loyal staff.
Yes.
You can pull back and get back to profitability, and Kobil is the story. You can see from which lows we were very low in 2012. It's amazing 6 months for 2015.
Interesting highlights there. The other issue around hedging has been that we've seen Kenol Kobil taking on a stricter hedging policy, which has sort of played in terms of how you've managed to make a comeback in your profits. And on the flip side, we are seeing Kenya Airways also having their hedging policy. It seems not to be working. What could be the problem behind this?
Look, I'm an oil man. I'm not in aviation business. I'm a great customer of KQ. All my traveling, and I travel a lot in Africa and in the region, it's only with KQ. I'm a patriotic Kenyan after 14 years in this land.
Yes.
And I can tell you that it's a great company and great management and staff. I'm sure they will find their ways to turn around the business. I'm too small to advise them. Aviation, it's you know, it's a profession on its own. But you must be ready for tough periods. Remember, we reduced staff substantially in 2012, 2013. We cut half of our human resource in Kenya in subsidiaries. So this one was tough. It was not easy to anyone. And we are very strict on our expenses. We are measuring our expenses on a daily basis, weekly basis, to make sure that we will not overshoot the budget.
Yes.
So this one on the expenses side, and you know, this issue of staff and all this cost cutting ended mid-2013, and now we are just digging on profitability.
Interesting answer there about how KQ can borrow some lessons from Kenol Kobil. Now that you've seen, David, you've posted these impressive numbers in first half, what should you expect in the full year results?
Look, I can just tell you that we are within budget for the 6 months. So if you do the multipliers, we have another half to cover. I can tell you July was a very strong month.
Yes.
We got already the results. So yes, we are in a strong position. I believe it will be a strong year. That's what I'm pushing my great team, employees and management team. We have a very young and dynamic management team in Kenya and in subsidiaries. I need only to encourage them and direct and lead, and they will deliver the results, and that's what they did. Me, I'm one man. We have 330 employees in the group, and these guys and ladies are doing marvelous.
Kenya has witnessed some sort of expanded demand for petroleum products. As Kenol Kobil, are you planning in terms of expanding your outlets as well as future expansion plans moving forward?
Yeah, I can't be so detailed on this question, and I'm sorry for that, but yes, in the commentary we are commenting clearly the board that we are ready now for investment. It's just that the type of the investment, it will be by expansion and maybe enhancing our non-fuel business in Kenya. We have some plans. It was a detailed, a long day board meeting yesterday, so yes, we are in a mood of expanding.
Interesting. I would have loved for you to expound more about that question. And just looking at this particular week, we expect the Energy Regulatory Commission to be announcing the revised fuel prices. What are your expectations really?
Look, first I think the Regulatory Commission, the Energy Regulatory Commission doing a great job controlling us, following demurrages and all. I must say there is a proper controls there. Look, we increased taxes, remember it went by 3 shillings, so it will be impacted in the next review.
Yes.
Oil prices generally in a downtrend, a strong downtrend in July, and it continues deeply in August. So my fellow Kenyans should be prepared for lower oil prices so long we not continue increasing taxes, which is the government decision. Again, I have nothing to say about that. So long taxes will remain the same, oil prices in the next 2 to 3 months should be coming down in Kenya. And it's good for the economy, good for the consumers.
I like that, that you're saying the prices are likely to come down. And as one of the biggest oil marketers in the country, we've also seen a number of oil marketers such as Engen trying to offer discounts to customers. Should we expect the same from Kenol Kobil?
Look, I'm sure the public followed. We are about to launch our new K card. We have a system we are implementing currently with Diamond Trust Bank. So when we'll roll over that system, I believe will be a promotion. It's something my team working on. The offers you see now, it's I think some people that been caught up with stock. I told you inventory, it's a big factor in our business.
Correct.
I have no plans to offer any discount now. I have no much of inventory. So whoever is flooded with diesel or gasoline when the market is diving like it happened in the last 1.5 months, I wish him the best.
Many thanks there, David Ohana, the CEO of Kenol Kobil, just giving us perspectives around the recently released results where we saw the company post a 73% jump in their after-tax profits, hitting 918 million shillings against last year's numbers, which were about 531 million shillings. Interesting conversation there. Moving on, property developer Home Africa has completed a 4-acre residential project in Miga, Kiambu County, the first complete phase of the expansive 774-acre mixed development property. The Mitini project comprises of 12 cottages and 70 apartments valued at 1 billion shillings. Home Africa is in the process of handing over the homes to their owners, and residents expect to start moving in at the end of this month after occupation permits are issued by Kiambu County government. Phase 2 of Mitini is set to kick off in the near future, but Home Africa is in talks with private developers who can handle the project. Home Africa also says the project will target high appetite areas in real estate. Still in Miga, the NSE listed developer expects to complete Tamarind Residence in the second quarter of next year, but says 70% of the project has been completed so far. Home Africa is also developing roads, water sources, a golf course and other facilities in Miga, with the groundbreaking for a hospital set for later this year.
This stage actually has been a huge sacrifice by the entrepreneurs, by the directors, the members of staff, project managers, and everybody else. And this is a long, long journey. By the time we have everything done, including the commercial spaces, the hotels, the retail, you'll have seen a whole group of people joining in this journey. We're also extremely excited by the fact that an Egyptian company called Wadi Degla that Dr. Mbira just mentioned are coming to invest over 2 billion shillings in sports facilities. They'll be putting up the clubhouse, which is on a 7-acre piece, the sports stadium on a 13-acre piece, and they'll also be building the golf course and maintaining it.
Well, some good news there for homeowners who have now transitioned to becoming occupants. Moving on, listed power generator KenGen is planning to start selling carbon credits on the Nairobi Securities Exchange by March next year. The firm is scouting for direct buyers for its carbon credits in the spot markets ahead of an expiry of the UN exchange market deal next year.
Carbon has now started being tracked and traded like any other commodity, and any company can buy the credits from someone else to reduce their carbon emission footprint. Several companies, mainly in the export market, such as those in the flower sector, could benefit from such a venture when their products are seen in the international market as green products. KenGen, which is awarded credits for not emitting more carbon in the market, recently received over 18,000 carbon credits from the redevelopment of Tana Hydropower Station. This has come at a time when the price of carbon credits has been on a downward trend internationally. This has hurt earnings of companies such as KenGen, which have invested heavily in environmentally friendly projects that have the lower carbon emissions in the race to tackle global warming. KenGen targeted to earn 1.2 billion shillings annually from trading in carbon credits. The UN carbon credit market was designed to let richer nations make up for their emissions by paying for carbon reductions in China, India, and other developing countries where reduction is often cheaper. Prices for carbon credits reached an all-time high in July 2008 at 36.43 euros per ton under the European Union's carbon credit market, the world's biggest. KenGen is counting on its continued geothermal energy capacity expansion program and the existing potential for emission reduction to expand its carbon credit assets by venturing into the new and unregulated markets. Michael Karanja, KTN Business Today.
Well, we now want to shift gears a bit and talk about matters pension, and we are now joined by Shera Noba from Alexander Forbes just to help us understand what's been happening in the pensions market. Welcome.
Thank you, Abhi.
I'm looking at the Kenyan pension landscape. We've seen personal pension schemes not having significant penetration levels. What's really behind this?
Correct. I mean, pensions penetration in this country is very low. I think we're just transitioning from a low-income country, and obviously with low income there's low savings, so you expect the savings to be rather low. But we're hoping as we transition to a middle income, we will see consumption going up, and we hope with that more Kenyans will start saving. And I think it will be our responsibility as an industry to encourage our fellow Kenyans on the importance of saving for retirement. I think in addition, usually the first encounter someone has on pension matters is from a social security perspective. Obviously we've had the old NSSF and it's now transitioning, but the old NSSF really didn't have the coverage you would have wanted. I mean, we're talking about 1.5 million Kenyans out of a potential 12.7. You know, that's a less than 8% coverage. But we're hoping with the new NSSF we will see those levels improving. The other aspect is tax. I mean, usually if you know that if you save and they're going to get a tax break, you know, people are encouraged to put more aside. More
money into it.
Correct. Right now there is a tax break that you get for saving for retirement.
How much is it?
I think it's 20,000 shillings per month, but I don't think a lot of Kenyans know about it.
Correct.
But hoping when they learn about it, they will put more. And I think we can always encourage the government to try and increase those brackets so that it helps the fellow Kenyans to put more aside for retirement, and by extension help the government in terms of taking care of its citizens when they attain retirement. So the government doesn't have to worry about them, the citizens are taking care of themselves.
Aside from the low penetration levels that you're talking about, we've also seen a number of Kenyans, and it's not only a Kenyan thing, it's across the region really, because the same thing applies in Uganda, the same thing applies in Rwanda, where we've seen low pension penetration levels. One of the people we talked to, just the ordinary wananchi walking down the street, they were like, I can't start pensions because pensions in Kenya, there's a lot of controversies around them when it comes to the management of the funds. Are we seeing a better management of pension funds really?
I would say yes. I remember when the industry started in the early 2000s, and there was a lot of hue and cry when the regulator came into play. But I must say the regulator has done their part. I mean, they have tried to put into place the various regulations, the governance standards, etc., to make sure that schemes are operated, you know, in the best interest of the members, and also those entities that establish them. I think obviously there's a lot more education that needs to happen, but I don't think we're seeing the sort of mismanagement we had seen 15, 20 years ago. I think obviously that has really transformed. And if you look at what the pension sector was 10, 15 years ago,
yes,
I think we had less than 200 billion in pension savings. I think now we're at the level where we have 800-900 billion in pension savings. So obviously the industry has
really grown.
And I think it's now up to all of us, you know, to encourage Kenyans, you know, on the importance of saving for retirement. If your employer doesn't have a pension scheme, it doesn't mean you can't go join your own or start your own.
Correct.
You have individual retirement plans out there, offered by individual entities, by insurance companies, even the likes of Alexander Forbes. We have an individual personal pension product. So I think,
which not many people really know about.
No, exactly. I think, you know, unfortunately pensions, I think, has also been seen as a preserve of a few, but I think that has to transform. And I think in terms of why generally within the region there's not a lot of pensions, is because pension planning was not just setting money aside, it was your extended family.
Yeah.
You know, the knowledge that when I retire, I've taken care of my children will take care of me in my retirement.
Yes.
But I think that's transforming. Society is transforming, and I think we're getting to a state where now everyone needs to take care of themselves.
Interesting that you've brought up that point where a lot of people now working for, should I say, the blue chip companies in the country, they have various pension schemes they are members of. But on the flip side, when it comes to the self-employed kind of people who constitute a bulk of the working class, they're not really active on pension funds, mainly because of issues around when you put up a claim, how fast is it processed, and even the amounts, because we've seen people lining up at, for example, the National Social Security Fund offices, NSSF, people saying that they've been queuing, waiting to get their pension funds. They're being told there still needs to be some checks to be done. We've also had cases of fraudsters coming in. Maybe from where you see it, from a personal pension scheme perspective, how do we get this population on board?
I think really for a punctual pension plan, it is really as simple as go to an insurance company. Most of insurance companies in the market offer personal pension plans. There are also some private entities like ourselves, Alexander Forbes Financial Services, that offer personal pension plans. And it's simply a case of saying, I want to save 1% of my pay or 2% of my pay, or I want to target a pension savings of say 50-60% of my pay at retirement. Tell me how much do I need to set aside so that I can achieve those targets. When you talk about the general Kenyan market not having a lot of pension savings, I think part of it is a large sector of Kenyans belong to gratuity arrangements.
Yes.
Gratuity arrangements don't have the same benefits as registered pension schemes. And the tendency is when someone leaves a unionized arrangement, they will take their funds and they will consume it, right? There's no really concept of saving. It's a today consume society. So I think it's up to us to educate that sector to tell the unionized arrangements, the gratuity schemes arrangements out there that really consider a pension. It is a good option.
Yeah.
You also get the tax benefits, and you're also taking care of your retirement savings. But the challenge usually that we also hear is, well, we're a low income sector. You know, what we get is consumed in its entirety. How do you save? So I think from there's a need then to have, you know, financial education.
Sure.
I mean, as Alexander Forbes, one of our motto is securing your financial well-being. You know, understand your spending habits, understand where you can potentially save for them. You know, if you know where you spend your money, then you know what you can get rid out of your spending budget. But if you have no idea where you're spending your money, you can't save. You know, it's very simple, really.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Also, the other issue on pensions. Paint for us a picture. If I've approached Alexander Forbes, let's say I'm earning 50,000 shillings, how much should I set aside for pension, and what arrangements do you normally have for such people who are perhaps in their 30s?
Okay. If you come in as an individual to Alexander Forbes, you can join what is called our individual personal pension plan. Okay. So one of our financial people would sit down with you, understand what your spending needs are, right, and then say, well, what do you want to save for retirement? You know, what is your target dream in terms of having a retirement income? Based on that, they'll tell you, well, you need to set aside 5%, 10%, 15%, whatever it is, of your pay.
What's the ideal percentage you should set aside?
It really depends on your age. The younger you are, the less you need to start saving, because that means you're saving for a longer time frame. The older you are, obviously, you have a less of a time frame to invest, and then hence the more you need. I think if you're in your early 20s, etc., if you look to save 10 to 15% of your income, then you're looking to get close to 90 to 100% of your pay at retirement, assuming you make reasonable returns over your investment lifetime. So that's the other thing that those saving for retirement must remember, especially in a pension scheme. It's not just the money you're setting aside, it's also the investment return you're looking to get on those investments.
Funds,
and it's really compound interest. You know, every 1% over a 10-year period, you know, gives you an additional 10 to 15% growth on your assets. So if you start early, even if you have less, because of the longer duration and the compound impact, you look to make a decent pot at retirement.
Quite insightful. Maybe as we wind up, we've also seen a new niche coming up where we are seeing mortgaged, pension-backed mortgages. How is this playing out in the market really?
I think pension-backed mortgages, when it first hit the market, there was, you know, great joy that, oh my, finally something's in the market where us as an ordinary Kenyan can set aside some money and put it towards buying our retirement home. But I think a lot of people still haven't taken it up. I think the challenge obviously has been understanding what the regulations require, what it means for the pension entity, the trustees, what it also means for the lending entity, and what it means for the member themselves. I think, you know, interest rates currently are going up, and we would have really hoped that, you know, a decent level of interest, that if I want to go get a mortgage and secure my retirement home, I can afford the mortgage. But I think the way things are right now, it's becoming a pipe dream, and I think we can only implore the industry to relook at it and say, if you're going to take an additional security, being my retirement, surely you can want to offer a better rate on the mortgage, because if I'm going to get the same rate as you, if you're not going to get a pension, where's the added benefit? Yeah.
And maybe finally, Shera, looking at personal pension schemes, what's the outlook like for Kenya? Are we expecting a growth around this, and what will be driving it really?
I would absolutely hope for a growth. I think really it comes down to the education. And the key to education is really financial education, starting from the moment you walk out of school or just as you're leaving out of school.
Yes.
I think for a lot of people, when you get your first paycheck, you know, you don't know how to spend it.
Yeah.
Talk about savings. Savings is the last thing
in
on
fact,
your
that's
mind.
when you call all your friends.
Exactly. You know, that's time to throw the party. You've got your first paycheck. I think really we need to change the way we are handling our students and also the way we are handling our employees. I think we need to give more focus to say, yes, plan for retirement, but also manage your finances during your working lifetime.
Yes, yeah.
And I think the greatest example of managing your finances is Warren Buffett. Where was he and where is he now? I think we can all take a page, from his literally experience and aspire to be him, if not better.
Many thanks. Shera Bora from Alexander Forbes, just helping us understand what is in store for you if you're able to start a pension scheme early enough in your work life so that you can benefit in your old age. Interesting conversation there. You can keep following us on Twitter at KTN Business Today, at Agina Abi, where you can just share with us some of your feedback regarding what were some of the key issues that stood out for you. And now, have you been evading taxes? Well, you have every reason to be worried. The Kenya Revenue Authority is set to link its automated taxpayers database to bank accounts of taxpayers in a move expected to smoke out thousands of tax evaders. The 765 million shilling database known as Data Warehouse and Business Intelligence offers a single view of taxpayers' profile, linking them with third-party systems such as banks and utility firms for easier determination of compliance. KRA currently faces massive challenges in tracking tax cheats because it uses multiple databases that hamper analysis and detection of fraudulent behavior. The authority's project manager, Yvonne Wafula, noted that the improved data matching and risk profiling solution will be installed by 2017 will facilitate the interfacing of KRA's system with internal and strategic external systems for information exchange. Information gathered from such sources will be used to analyze unreported activities of taxpayers, to detect tax fraud, and to score and rank risk profiles. Tighter electronic surveillance systems helped KRA realize a record 1.01 trillion shillings in tax revenues for the year ended June 30th, 2015, but that was still lower than the Treasury 1.08 trillion shillings target. The revenue performance for the year 2014-2015 was 3.86% higher than the 963.8 billion shillings realized the previous year, but slightly lower than the estimate. Let's shift gears a bit and cross over to Mombasa, where tourism at the coast has been a pale shadow of itself over the last 2 years, as thousands of tourists kept off following sustained attacks in the area. But that is slowly fading away as tourists troop back to the coast, breathing a fresh breath of life to an industry rocked to its core. Charter flights from Europe have actually resumed operations to both south and north coasts, bringing in hundreds of tourists in what is being hailed as the step in the right direction in restoring tourism confidence.
Busy airports, packed hotel corridors, and a charged atmosphere is what the coastal region has been missing for the better part of 2 years, as tourists kept off the beauty-laden region for fear of terrorist attacks. But since June, when the UK lifted its travel ban, the coast has registered good traffic of international visitors, finally shedding some hope that the tourism sector will rise to its feet soon. In late July, 700 tourists flew in aboard Italian chartered airline Meridiana Fly, enabling more than 30 hotels in Malindi and Watamu to resume business. And over the weekend, German carrier Condor flew in 134 tourists from Germany in its first of the 4 flights it will be making into Mombasa every week.
I come from Berlin, and now I stay here for 2 weeks for vacation.
Okay.
It's my 4th time here in Kenya. Yeah.
We only for travel and visit Kenya. Okay.
Over the month of July, there has been significant increase in tourist arrivals, most of them coming to witness the wildebeest migration. Kenya is still heavily dependent on safari and sandy beaches as the main tourism products. But with tough lessons having been learnt over the last 2 years, players in the sector now want to see a more diverse sector by tapping into meetings, incentives, conferencing and exhibitions.
Kenya ilikuwa ni nchi ya kwanza Afrika kujenga a convention center in the name of KICC. 1972. hizi nchi kama South Africa wapi walikuja ku benchmark hapa. Leo South Africa inatushinda, manake sasa inajulikana kama destination ya conferences. Watu wanaenda conferences South Africa, wanaenda game park Mpumalanga. Sasa wana kill more than 2 birds with one stone.
The tourism sector lost 25% of its visitors in the first 5 months of this year to 284,000 arrivals, down from 381,000 arrivals witnessed in 2014. It is expected that the sector will start recovering towards the high season of this year, there being no cases of insecurity or fresh travel advisories. Charles Gitonga, KTN News.
Well, and with that story, it brings us to the end of our part 1 of KTN Business today. Coming up, we'll be having an interesting conversation where my colleague Joy Dorin Bira will be talking to a young techpreneur who is doing serious issues around providing software solutions to teachers as well as students at high school. We'll also be looking at what's happening in Kwale in the tourism circuit. Don't go too far. We'll take a short break.
So, is this glass half full or half empty? That all depends on your perspective. Of course, you could look at things differently. For instance, you could ask, who was drinking from this glass? Or the quality of the water in the glass. It could speak to those things that occur over time. And of course, the glass itself could tell you a story. There's different ways to look at stories too. It all depends on your perspective.
You can also watch this program on Zuku, Channel 14. He brought you life-changing stories right into your living room.
And the story of Budalangi.
He traveled across continents.
In Atlanta, in Accra, Ghana. In Potato, Somaliland, Kigali, Turkey.
Interviewed heads of state on governance and human development.
Complete stories that add value to your life.
A CNN fellow.
Production for breeding their cattle.
A food security fellow of Oklahoma State University.
Yes, this was the mood in Hargeisa. We take you to the rural areas of Rwanda.
Over 15 years experience in television reporting.
So peaceful here, so different.
And now, a game changer.
People from Kenya are a good man.
A compelling weekly issue-oriented show about you and with you. Every Thursday at 8 p.m. only on KTN News.
You can now watch this program on ADN Channel 5.
Juma hili kwenye chungu chetu
ni wadudu, lakini kwa wenyeji wa Kabras ni mboga.
Hiyo mafunyo ni nzuri sana.
Wanatisha ukiwatizama tu.
Kanisa tukubali tukule.
Pengine ungetaka kuwapika.
Naipenda sana kuliko hata kuku.
Kunao wasiowala wadudu hawa magharibi, na miko ni ipi inayowahusu?
Kama tu nyama unakula tu alafu unashiba, kisha shiba unakunywa maji unalala.
Usipitwe na utamu wa mafunyo.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to News Track. Let's take a look at some of the top stories making headlines across the country. President Uhuru Kenyatta is challenging Commonwealth democracies to foster unity even in the presence of vibrant opposition. The president says democracy can be messy, but that the government must find a middle ground with the opposition in their countries.
It is our responsibility as the people's representatives to soothe, not to stifle the loud voices, but even more importantly, to encourage the quiet ones. It is our duty to hear our opponents' arguments and to weigh them with an open mind.
And operations in all Nakuru public hospitals are paralyzed as health workers down their tools over pending promotions.
We are here at Rift Valley Provincial General Hospital, and this is the casualty department. Behind me are some of the patients who have come here today to get treatment. On this side is the cashier area, and it's closed. Evidence enough that there are no operations going on here today. Outside the door are some of the more patients who are still waiting to get treatment. But the doctors here are some of the doctors who have been affected by the strike in the county. They say enough is enough, and what they want from the county is their promotions.
Tulikuwa tutoke either leo tomorrow, lakini by yesterday when we came here tukaambiwa na madaktari kila mtu aende mahali anajua na mgonjwa wake. By this morning nimepitia nimeambiwa na Nakuru Nursing wamepata nafasi. That's why tunamtoa tunampeleka Nakuru Nursing home.
We have gone on strike so that we can get our promotions. There is absolutely no reason why any member of our union should go back to work without our arrears, our promotions given in full. That is the bare minimum we want from this county government.
Healthcare workers have been demoralized. Today, the morale of healthcare workers is low. Corruption is the highest in counties now as we speak. And all this, if not addressed with the urgency it requires, then we risk increasing the mortality rates in this country.
Let me say, because of procedures in payment of salaries, maybe something was removed, but not all of them. It was not removed across the board. When we noticed some people who were missed out, we told them we are going to reinstate, and we have reinstated. Maybe a few have not.
Well, indeed, a sorry state of affairs there in Nakuru. Our reporter Kamchi Menza will be keeping us posted on what's happening on the ground. Shifting gears across the borders, in Rwanda, a nationwide survey shows that only 10% of the people are opposed to a constitutional change to allow President Paul Kagame to run for a third term in office.
Already have been on the wall when more than 3.7 million Rwandans signed their names on a petition seeking to have Paul Kagame run again in 2017 for another 7-year term. And now a report by lawmakers in the country suggests that only 10 people have opposed that bid around the country. The move comes amid a raging debate in the region about presidential term limits in East Africa and Africa in general.
I'm a very popular person. I'm doing the right thing, and I have no apologies to make to Obama or anybody else. And when you see what's happening in Uganda here, every 5 years of those years you are talking about, there is always, Uganda is at a higher level. As I speak today, the Uganda government is able to finance by itself almost 93% of the budget. That was not the case at the beginning.
Well, Your Excellency, I don't think it's a question of defending. I think, as you said, it's a question of choice because, as you have correctly said, the people of Kenya, through choice of the constitution that they voted in, stated that they were desirous to have term limits. But like I said before in Parliament, the most important thing here is the democratic will of the people. That is the most important aspect. So if the people themselves decide that they are not desirous of having term limits, you can also not force the issue on term limits to somebody who has said no. If the people are desirous, you must also, like we do in Kenya, abide and say the people of Kenya have constitutionally stated that they want term limits. So we must abide by the will of the people because the Constitution is the embodiment of the will of the people.
A final...
Well, indeed, a question of term limits. We'll be bringing to you a more detailed coverage about these top stories that have been making headlines across the region and the country. My name is Abi Agina. Coming up next is KTN Business Today.
Gavana Sospita Ojamonga, gavana wa Bungoma, gavana wa Nyamira, seneta wa Kilifi. Mgeni wangu studioni ni Ababu na Mwamba, msomi wa historia huko nchini. Kweli kwamba haujalipa suppliers?
Kweli hatujalipa suppliers na sio shida yangu kama gavana. Hii imekuwa imejificha. Na sasa ndio watu wanaanza kuona sasa vile vifaa vinakuja.
Madam, kitu kilioko hii ni kateli ama hii ni wizi wa hali wa juu.
Kwa Bungoma tumenyanyaswa sana.
Hamna siku ambapo mtapata kuwa sasa kuna utukufu na utakatifu katika hii mipaka.
Tumieni fedha za ugatuzi kwa njia bora kufufua uchumi wa maeneo yenu.
Wasema ambao wanaufanya au tusaidii chochote. Hakuna barabara ambayo inatoka Isiolo inapitia IPT Meru.
Maombi yake anawasilisha kwa nani ndio apate fedha hizo?
Kama ni pesa za women enterprise ama youth enterprise, unaenda kwa district development officer.
Tuko hapa kwenye jukwaa la KTN kuangazia jinsi utendakazi unatekelezwa katika county.
Mashehe na wahubiri kuuawa wa pwani ya Kenya.
Amenunua risasi karibu 15.
Ghasia na mauaji hadi ndani ya misikiti na makanisa.
Ndio hali katika mji wa Mombasa, huku ghasia, taharuki,
mashambulizi ya magaidi si Mombasa, si Mpeketoni, si Tana River.
Na leo pia tumelala tukiuawa na hakuna chochote yenye tunaelewa.
Hata watoto wadogo kujeruhiwa vibaya.
Mama alipoteza uhai wake kunusuru uhai wake.
Baadhi ya wakereketwa wa pwani wakianzisha harakati ukiwemo wito kama huu.
Kenya,
tupo ngangari kukupasha. Kero la utata wa ardhi katika pwani ya Kenya na suala kuwa chambo cha kupata kura imezuru ikulu na hata kwa kina Yahe kukupa hisia kamili.
Karatasi tutakazopawa sisi zitakuwa si za kweli, ni za feki.
Kitendawili cha walanguzi wa mihadarati kikiendelea, tumehakikisha unapata habari zinazochipuka.
Uchunguzi wa mahabara ambao umefanywa umeonyesha kwa ni heroin.
Magendo ya pembe za ndovu na ukiukaji mwingine wa sheria unapoibuka zikisalia nyuma kuhakikisha wewe mtazamaji umepokea habari.
Hasara tayari imefanyika.
Na je, siasa za pwani zinaponoga?
Wanataka muungano wa CORD uwakilishe kwenye mjadala wa kitaifa.
Licha ya changamoto ibuka, tumekuwa stadi kwa manufaa yako, na ndiyo kauli mbiu ya wanahabari, kusema ukweli kwa ajili yako mtazamaji.
Jina langu ni John Juma nikiwa Mombasa. Tunafungua ukurasa mpya.
And welcome back. You're watching KTN Business Today. We are now in our second hour and we want to talk about technology. But before that, let's do a quick look around some of the other stories making headlines across the counties. The county government of Kwale is betting big on growing its fortunes from the tourism sector, even as the county works round the clock to upgrade its dilapidated road infrastructure. According to Adam Sheikh, the county executive in charge of tourism in Kwale, he says that the county administration is keen on opening access roads leading to the beach as well as to the Tsavo National Game Park. The tourism sector has been on a rebounding streak, with tourist numbers beginning to pick up following heightened security at the coast. The county boasts of having the Diani Beach, which recently received global recognition as one of the best destinations in the world. The county is moving fast to capitalize on this by installing street lights and making the destination more attractive even as the peak season sets in.
Sisi kama serikali ya county tuko na mikakati ambapo ya kuboresha zile barabara za access to the beach. Hizo barabara tumezifungua kwa sababu washikadau wengine walizifunga. Sasa hiyo tulizifungua sisi wenyewe, na bali na hiyo pia tunaziweka kabro ili iwe ni sehemu nzuri ya burudani pengine na ya watu kujienjoy. Kama ni usiku, hizo sehemu pia tumesema tutaziweka street lights ili watu sasa watakuwa wanaendelea kufanya biashara, na wengine watakuwa wamechelewa baharini wataweza sasa kutumia hizo njia bila tashwishi yote. Kwa hiyo tumezifungua zile barabara zote na tutaendelea kuziimarisha moja kwa moja. Wakati huu mpango iko ya kutengeneza moja ile sasa ikishikika vizuri, wananchi waikubali na fedha zikiwa ziko, tunaweza sasa kuroll kwa zile zingine ambazo tumezifungua lakini hatujaweka kabla. Undoubtedly, this is the best beach in Africa and globally has been rated the 25 best beaches in the world. Now, how that translates into something positive for us is evident. That attracts a lot of traffic into this destination, and by extension, hotels will now be getting businesses, and our people will get jobs, and those other sectors that depend on tourism for their operations will now also be uplifted. For example, importance of tourism cannot be overemphasized because of its linkages to other sectors of the economy, like agriculture, like fisheries, like finance, transport sector, curio sellers, boat operators, and safari sellers, and so on and so forth. So all these sectors will stand to benefit from the increase in numbers to the Diani Beach.
Well, from Kwale to now a story about LPGs. It is estimated that close to 70% of liquefied petroleum gas sold in the country is from illegal sources, and now the Petroleum Institute of East Africa and oil marketers have launched a crackdown on the illegal refilling stations around the country. So far, IEA and oil marketers have cracked down on more than 15 illegal refilling stations, arresting a number of people involved. Counterfeit gas poses a great risk on lives of users, noting that illegal gas filling stations have mushroomed countrywide. Crafty traders import their gas from Tanzania, while some consignments come through the port of Mombasa under the disguise of lab chemicals in special standard containers used to transport chemicals. These individuals evade paying taxes and they sell their products at relatively cheaper prices compared to the genuine local product gas, which sort of affects competition in the market. Well, Philip Keitani is following up on that story and he'll be giving us a comprehensive update in our subsequent bulletins. Let's now shift gears and look at what's making headlines across the world. Greece could conclude talks with the international creditors on its third bailout worth up to 86 billion euros by the end of today. But what are the potential hurdles that could derail the process? Here's more on that.
Greek officials arrive at the Hilton in Athens as negotiations over Greece's third bailout package may be drawing to a close. It follows a marathon session that ended in the early hours of Monday. At stake is up to 86 billion euros in loans, which will keep Greece in the euro and prevent the country from economic collapse. European Commission spokeswoman Annika Breithart.
Progress has indeed been made, and we expect further progress throughout the day and beyond as talks continue to resolve the remaining issues.
One of those issues, according to a senior EU official, is the size of the overall bailout. Some member states want to see it reduced from the up to 86 billion euros agreed at a summit in July, as they face growing taxpayer backlash against pouring more money into Greece. There are other hurdles too. Chief Economic Advisor at CEBR, Vicky Price.
Whether Greece can, in fact, tackle in particular the labour market and pensions. There's been a big issue about early retirement, and that has been something that keeps coming back on the table.
Once an agreement is signed, Greece's economy could start to recover.
It will open the door for the European Central Bank to include Greek government bonds into the QE program. And I think once that is done, Greece can seriously start moving towards normality, and that would be a great breakthrough.
Greece has a 3.2 billion euro payment to the ECB due on August the 20th.
Well, from Greece, let's go to China. A raft of China data from over the weekend didn't paint a very positive picture of the world's second largest economy. It could add pressure on Beijing to ease policy.
A raft of negative numbers over the weekend putting the pressure on China. Producer prices in July hitting their lowest point since 2009 after the global financial crisis. And exports tumbled 8.3%, the steepest fall in 4 months. Weaker global demand and a strong currency putting a dent in manufacturers. Those numbers fuel the argument for China to stimulate the economy. Economists told a Reuters poll last month they expect the central bank to cut rates this year by at least another 25 basis points. Sean Darby of Jefferies.
2/3 of global growth came from the emerging markets themselves over the last 5 years, and those economies have been slowing quite sharply. So Brazil and Russia have been in recession, or forecast to be in recession this year. So a lot of demand for those natural exports from China have disappeared. But the picture's pretty much the same elsewhere. It's not just China, but other, should we say, countries with large trade positions are also going through the same problem.
Even if Beijing hits its full-year GDP target of around 7%, that would still be the slowest growth in 25 years. Stumbling stock markets China needs to fund efforts to rekindle the economy are only adding to an already urgent outlook. This week, more data rolling out on factories, investment, and domestic spending, all predicted to show renewed weakness in the world's second-largest economy.
Well, not some good news coming there out of China. Doing very well that China and Kenya are some of the countries that continue to trade closely. Japanese companies did more M&A in the US than elsewhere else, and that's up 23% over the last year. Now they're diversifying their purchases.
They're not the headline grabbers of the 80s like Mitsubishi Estate's acquisition of Rockefeller Center, but Japan money is back, and more of it is heading for the US. Facing an aging and shrinking population, companies are scrambling overseas for growth. Japanese companies did more M&A in the U.S. than anywhere else. Some 87 companies this year, up 23% from last year, and more than double that of the same period in 2004. In just the last 7 months, Japanese insurers paid $5 to $7.5 billion each to snap up HCC Insurance, Protective Life, and Stancorp Financial. And drug maker Otsuka completed its purchase of Avenir Pharmaceuticals. Attorney Michael Brown heads the Japan practice group at Morrison Foerster.
In the first half of this year, 20 deals have come across my desk, and we're working on 3 or 4 of them actively, which is busy enough.
Versus how many, say, 5 years ago?
5 years ago, I would probably be working on 5 deals also, but probably out of 10 possibilities.
Acquisition targets have widened. While the market value share of tech deals has shrunk by half since 2004, basic materials deals have risen and could rise more.
This year I've seen a growth in the number of Japanese companies interested in more mundane industries, such as home building materials, paint, steel pipes, construction, machinery.
Many Japanese companies overpaid for trophy properties in the 1980s, but M&A experts say they've gotten wiser now. They've become more strategic and less spendthrift in their purchases.
Well, from the international stories, we now want to come back home. And Joy, every Tuesday we do speak Texpo.
Yes.
What's coming up today?
Well, today we have a gentleman called Samson Wanjohi right there, standing next to you, and he's going to be telling us about an interesting software. I think a lot of schools in the country would be interested. Shule Pro, and it's a school management system, I should say, that keeps records of report cards and anything to do with what happens inside a secondary school. And he's going to be telling us a whole lot about it.
Wow.
Thank you so much for joining us, Samson.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi.
Samson. My name is Samson.
Samson.
Samson. Not Samsung. Yeah, basically the application manages school data. That would be finance, exams, assignments. There's quite a number of things. Basically notes, discipline, library, all that stuff.
So a lot of entrepreneurs like yourself, or techies like yourself, identify a problem, and then you try to find a solution.
Exactly.
What was the problem that you identified?
I once was a teacher, and we had a really big problem keeping records for students. A student will turn up, come pick a report card, and then next month we don't have the data. That was it. So I needed a way for us to basically store the data permanently. Okay? And at the same time, allow parents to track the improvement online and offline. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And so when you identified that problem, you thought that if I developed a software, it would probably be the best way to solve this.
Exactly. That's how it happened.
And so how long did it take you to come up with Shule Pro?
It's 3 years work. It's actually 3 years work, yeah. It's 2012, since 2012. What happens is there are phases of development, there are phases of development. You've got the version 1. Normally we say when it doesn't do very well, we call it version 1 and throw it away. So we build the next one. The other biggest challenge, one of the challenges, by the way, building the application is adoption. We've got a lot of teachers who are not well trained in computers, but the principal needs them to use the application. It becomes very difficult. I had a challenge once. There is a technology challenge common in schools where I was supposed to build a website for a school, and then at the end of the meeting I asked the principal any question. He told me, okay, what if we don't want the other schools to see our website? That is the kind of problem that some of the problems that we usually have out there when selling to these guys some of these products. Yeah, it's difficult.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, so just take us through how Shule Pro works.
Basically, okay, once you log into the application, you've got your home page. That is the starting point. On your left, you've got the user's manual, which is quickly accessible. Yeah, you have the user's manual there. You've got save changes, something called RDE and pre-trained. RDE allows, most schools accounts do not have internet. But if you ask the curriculum, the head of curriculum, he'll tell you that I need a way to connect that data in school while offline. I don't have internet. So RDE is used to synchronize data across servers offline. Every time he connects, he'll download a latest copy of the same. You've got notes for students or notes on students. Use that to keep notes which are related to a particular student or a particular parent.
Could you demonstrate this for us?
Let's first of all go to let's have a quick start and perhaps go to Open Class. Now you're looking at Form 2 2015.
Yes.
You've got several windows or several options that you can go to. You've got the view and enter exams. You've got the disabled, collect fees and print invoices. There is a reason for that. I'm logged in as an administrator, which is a system administrator. It has permissions. It's permission based. If I log in as an accountant, it will switch back now to the accounting section of the application for security purposes.
Right.
I'll go to, let's have a look at exams perhaps done in 2015. 2015. I'm looking at actual data for La School. I borrowed the database somewhere for La School that uses the application. What you have is a list of exams done in by this class in term 2. That would be this term. And you've got the subjects that are done by the particular class there, listed there. You've got several options down here. You can create as many exams as you like. And then at that area written print over there, you can see that area.
You can
print allows you to control what exams you want to print. You can select, I want to print this one and this one, perhaps this one only. Then you've got summaries and comments. Summaries and comments is largely used for IGCSE. Those guys use that section heavily. The software is compatible across all systems, all education systems. Over the years, I try to make it as compatible to everyone as possible.
Maybe Samson, sorry to interrupt you. Looking at this system, who does the data entry?
Now, most of the times, it's the teachers. It's actually the teachers. But sometimes you find a case where, because of the challenges, computer literary teachers are not very common to come by sometimes in schools, especially a country, you find the secretary is in charge of that. So, analetewa, makaratasi, ndio hiyo, naambiwa, that's it, you enter the results, I'm out of here. It becomes very hectic sometimes for the secretary. But anyway, we were about to look at the
summary and comments.
This is where you enter the results. Or let's first of all finish with the tabs up there. You've got the summaries and comments. This is basically a teacher writing something about that result. And then you've got the principal's message. The principals can write a message there. And you've got an email option. You can actually email the report cards to the parents if you have. But it's very difficult to come by because sometimes up country, it's pretty obvious you won't have very many parents with a lot of email addresses. So you have the SMS option. Down there. You can send the results via SMS by clicking there. Again, there is an internet up country most of the time, so we just use the normal SMS bundle system of modems. Modem, SIM card, SMS bundles. Then you've got homework. This is another good feature. Most guys like this teachers like this one very much.
They all like
you
homework.
can write an assignment there. Once you write the assignment, when printing your card, you'll have the results printed on the particular, or the assignments printed on the report card.
So let me just ask one thing. Are all the curriculums from Form 1 to Form 4 all inside here, or is it just what the teachers enter that you find inside here?
What happens is the information entered by the teachers is what is inside there. But if you go to the online copy of it, or the online system of it, there is a section which is now being built to accommodate that, to accommodate an online library, questions, all that stuff. It's being developed for online. What you have here is the management itself, the management portion of the school.
Okay. And from what you see here, if you can probably go back to the home page, there's just something. How easily is it user-friendly? Because I'm just looking at a first-time teacher who looks at this homepage would probably get lost and say, now where do I begin? Where do I go first? What exactly is in here? And those are like some of the first impressions that anyone would want to, just, okay, I can use this, I can do this, Yeah, but from your standpoint, do you think it's user-friendly?
It is. At first, let me tell you something about technology and we tech developers. We make a mistake sometimes when developing applications. We build applications as if we are going to be the end users of that application. So over the times, you learn to change. You learn to make your application easier to use. This is the easiest it can be because I started off that way. I just said, I just spoke of building an application as if I'm the end user of the application. We all start that way, and then eventually we start figuring up the application and making it easier to use. Now, what you are looking at, all you need to do is, I should tell teachers, all you need to do is remember 3 things. Remember the class, and remember what you've come to do with the application. That's all. So if you log into the application, the first thing you need to do is you need to go to the class that you want to work on, which is basically Form 1 2015. It could be any class over there. That's why they are listed. All of them are literally listed there. You select your class, and then once you select your class, choose an option of what you want to do.
Maybe Samson,
yeah.
it comes out better if we can demonstrate it. Can
yeah.
you really walk us through it?
I'll go to probably Form 2. Okay.
Assume that
yeah.
I'm a teacher.
Yes.
Joy is my student. I want to create a class. Let's start from there. Walk us through that.
Okay. Now, what we'll do is we'll open up the application. We'll actually start from login. Login is basically here. There is login. I'm going to hit login.
Yes.
There. The application will load up, and then you need to select the class that you want to work with. Now, mwalimu nataka kufanya kazi na darasa gani?
I want to teach English and mathematics.
Let's talk about results for now. You've come with a bunch of results and you want them printed, and you want to tell the parents what is happening to your student or to the particular student or a certain student.
I'm the student in this case.
We want to capture their grades.
Okay.
And also look at some of the best performers.
Okay. Hang on.
Is that possible?
It is very, 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 very possible. Now I'm going to select, you forgot to say your class, but we're going to work with Form 2.
Okay, let me pick, Joy looks to me like a Form 3.
Form 3 is fine.
Yeah. Really? It looks like a Form 4.
No.
Okay.
On a light note.
Now what you have here first, just in case you might get confused with all these data here. What you have is basically an analysis, a short analysis of what has been going on throughout the year. You've got the first exam they've done, there was an increase of almost 1 point in the entire class, and then they dropped. I don't know why they dropped. This is actual data for a certain school. Well, we need to enter results for English. Okay.
Mathematics.
I'm going to open up, say we had Term 2, and then go to View and Enter Exams.
Yes.
And here you are. I'll go to these English, perhaps.
Yeah, you can pick any subject.
English seems fine. Now. I took a liberty of replacing. Okay, let's unlock this exam. It's telling us the exam is locked. We need to unlock it. That one is unlocked.
You can actually lock up.
You can lock exam. Once you are done with the exam, you can lock it. That prevents further changes onto the exam. Yeah.
Credibility.
Exactly. Now, the names look a little bit weird, right? I changed a few things because
results
and they watch
2014,
but we shall use these one. We shall use that student there and say change the results to what? Perhaps 95.
Yeah.
95.
Yes.
Okay, we need to enter a conversion. This is the out of bit.
Okay.
This is a Kome. Kome is 95. There you go. That is the only work a teacher does. That's all.
Just entering.
Just that. The grades are given automatically. Everything is automatic because that switched. The grade column was switched to an A. If I go to 20,
becomes an F or an E.
It's an E actually.
If I go to 85, it's probably still an A.
Great.
So you've actually taken us through. We've logged in.
Yes.
We've put in some results for Joy.
Okay.
Now we want to maybe send this to the mother, or even
the first thing you need to do is you need to save your results. Okay. It's actually saving automatically. It saves automatically because power outages and related issues. You need to save your results. Now it's processing your results. That's it. You've done that. Now, once you save your results, you'll need to go to this area. It's known as process the exam. Okay. If I hit process, it opens up that window. Now. These are 115 students. Okay. We could.
I've seen the name somewhere. Kome.
You've seen Kome somewhere?
Yeah.
You've got very sharp eyes.
Yeah, there it is.
I can not even. Oh yeah, there's Kome. Okay.
We're just doing a demonstration.
Yeah. There are several options on screen. Depends with the kind of how your school works. There is this client of mine who uses the software for a school in Bangladesh. It's actually used as a country also. they've got other settings when processing. So you've got, I had to accommodate almost everyone in the system.
Okay.
Out here, depending on how you set up your school, during setup, it detects whether it is IGCSE, whether it is the local 844, it's able to tell which is which. And then out here, you'll be able to select the kind of processing that you want.
Yes.
Okay? So let's see. It's actually now processing the results. Yeah.
So the 155
students. That's a lot of students. Imagine sitting down and doing the calculations yourself.
So how about if Joy hacks as we are doing this?
Now we are actually offline. Joy cannot do it right now.
Well, I can't do it right now, but knowing that I can access the system as a student, because let's give an example of some of these schools that are already using a system like this. They've already as well hacked into some of the systems. Let's use the example of some schools in the United States. They hack into the system, they change their results, and then they process them as well. Print out a copy and take it to their parents and say, look, I'm an A student. But backdoor, you know, the teacher knows that these are an F students, and so it's more like a lie that you're giving to your parents. And at the back door here, you're actually not as performing as well as you would have hoped to. So how do you deal with that challenge?
Now, normally at the school level, you need to create strong passwords. That's the first step in securing your work. That's the first step in securing the database. After that, you'll need to have several access levels. So I'm logged in as an administrator right now. I can access any area. The other passwords will not do anything. You can't process the exam while logged in as a teacher. The administrator or the curriculum manager has to do that. Now, when we get to online, online, there are also results online. You can view your results online, but they are completely read-only results. Okay? There's really nowhere you'll go and say, I'm going to change. And the online copy, the online school's copy, and the local copy is usually disconnected. Yeah, there is no way of just changing one and it affects the other.
All right. So this seems like a very good application for schools, high schools in the country today. How many have signed up, or how many have taken up this application?
It's just around 75. The guys online is around 35. Those are mostly schools which are in the urban areas.
So which are some of those schools that are using this application at the moment?
St. Francis Mangu Girls, Kaili, Macaulay Girls, Rama, there are many. In Timigom, that is Western Kenya. In Tekene, some of them are difficult to pronounce. they are in Western Kenya. Others are, you can actually download the software offline or online. You can go to the website, download the software, and then test it out, and that's how we get to sell.
So how really do you make money out of this?
We try to make the software as affordable as possible.
Right.
Okay. That's how we make money. We try to take the least profit possible.
Which is how much?
Which is basically depending on...
If you're at a school now, let's say St. Peter's Nanga, and you want you to bring the system for us to use.
Normally we encourage the buyers who are buying the application to do it online. You can go download the application, work with it, and then from there you'll buy it cheaper there. You'll buy the application cheaper there. You probably buy it at 60,000. Okay, online. But if you insist on someone coming and doing the installation for you and all that stuff, then we've made it as simple as possible to download and set it up yourself. Yeah, exactly. Because if you go to settings, there's a settings area here. Under settings, you can change anything you need. You can alter your grading system, customize it to what you want. Go to staff management, financial options, go to general options. Everything is basically opened up. There is nothing hidden. If it's IGCSE kindergarten, because they usually have some kind of a different setup, the settings are there. Gradability options are all, should be somewhere in, basically if you buy it online, you'll be able to customize everything you need, and you'll buy it cheaper. But if you need support come all the way to cost and other stuff, then you'll have to chip in some other extra cost, which sometimes is what they the clients fail to understand. Okay, they don't want to pay for that, but they want you to go down. Yeah. Let me tell you something. If guys had Bill Gates' number, he'd have all sorts of problems and calls at night. Hey, I bolded my text, but I cannot remember how to unbold.
That's true. But now, for somebody who may be a principal who you're selling this idea to for the very first time, what is the catch? What is the catchy phrase that you'd use to entice them to buy this?
Okay, there is a very popular feature. There is a very popular feature for principals. You know, when students walk into in the principal's office with their parent, the principals cannot tell what kind of a student they are dealing with. So sometimes they usually need a quick way of accessing the student's data. Now that is done by hitting search. Can you see search at the top?
Yes.
You have that, and then we are going to use 5191. Let's see, there could be that. Yeah, so you have this person. Good. Now, what you have is a girl. There's a girl here. I think Sharon Mwende or something. Yeah.
Right.
This is her record. Now the principal is seated there. He can quickly access information, that is education information.
This is very nice.
Okay? So as a principal, I'm able to tell quickly what kind of a student has just walked in. Is this an A student, E student? And then you've got the financial records. She doesn't have any financial records there. You've got the financial records there. The balances are all displayed for you.
Does that include the schools they're coming from? Like say if they carried some balances from wherever it is they came from, and so they're moving on to a new school.
The previous balances, previous balances are all listed here, depending on the year. Okay.
Okay.
You've got then you've got this section down here. No notes related to the students were found. Now you have all notes there, including discipline notes. A parent came last week, told you I'll pay you back this week. All that information is stored there.
Right.
Nice.
Okay.
We were actually in the process of you sending. I know we digressed a bit, which was very helpful.
Okay.
Maybe you can take us through now. We've captured Joy's results.
Yeah.
We now want to send them via text or via email. What
I'll
happens?
show you 3 different ways of doing it. The first method we are going to do is post those results online so that Joy can go home, take your mom's phone and log in and see your results. Okay. I'm going to click on cloud services. There is actually a cloud service. Okay. Let's close this one up, and you have this one.
Yes.
I'm going to select results for Form 3. I hope there should be results there, and go to open now. Form 2015. Joy is Form 3. Yeah?
Form 3, yes.
Yeah. The first thing I'll need to do is I'll need to go to server update. Okay. Assuming you've just bought the application, but I know the records of these guys are probably online. I'll go to server update, and then I'm going to place on synchronize. Do I have internet connection? I should be having internet connection.
Okay.
Now, once we do that, it's going to take up your data and try to synchronize it somewhere.
Okay.
Now, once the data goes up, it's actually doing that. Once the data goes up, I'm going to click on this, and then go online, log out that first. Out.
Okay.
I lost the connection there.
We've lost connection.
Okay.
But at least we get a rough idea of what's really behind the system. Like Joy asked, so really, what is the significance of this for the student, for the teacher, and for the parent back at home? What has been the impact of this software?
And the principal.
One, cheating has reduced. I'd go home, guys would go home, and then they would deliver the wrong results to the parents. So I got an A, and the person did get an A. The second, in the second option that I was about to show you, which is basically sending via text, that's one I'm sure you can view. Sending by text, the results get home before the student does, which is a good thing because there is no law of cheating.
Sure.
The other method is emailing. This is under this section. Okay, these SMSs, you can hit there and send the SMSs. Then you have principal's message. You can write a message there and then send results as emails.
As emails, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if we just go back to the very beginning. Yes, right here. I think that it needs to be a little bit more friendly for a first-time teacher.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking for a teacher who has never used this and they're presented with it the very first time, the first thing that goes through their mind is, what is this? What is that? You know? And so they have all these images going through their heads, and so they're thinking, this is user-friendly. Yes, they get very confused. So probably it needs to be more direct around the user's manual. It probably needs to have a little bit more of direct direct subscription for the users, so they are able to know exactly where they're going with just a blink of an eye.
Yeah, that is where basic the training comes in at that point now. I told you only need to remember two things. Select your class. What do you want to do with the class? That's it. I try to make it as simple as that. To avoid, if you're not going to use some of these buttons, they are actually disabled. If you look at finance, because they are logged in at some other level, user level, it's actually disabled. As for usability, these have been built over the years out of ideas of guys like you, what you just said. Okay, move this button over here. No, I can't find this button. You listen on support. When listening to guys who've called, the person cannot remember where a certain button is. And if you get so many calls related to that button, you try to make the button come out clearly. Okay? Yeah.
All right. So newer records, older records, selected class as well. Those are some of the issues that you'll be able to deal with if you are able to get this application. And I think for those of us who probably need some more information on this, how do they get to you?
Go to shulepro.com, download the copy, and it's a free copy, and you'll be able to walk around the application.
The trial is for how long? 2 days?
The trial is not limited. It's not limited. It's limited on the number of students you can add to the system. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, interesting conversation there. I'm quite interested actually in this particular system because I remember when we were in primary, you'd get your report card in standard 1 and you'd use it up to class 8. By the time it's class 8, some of the pages are worn out. You know, so it's really a good initiative, and we wish you all the best.
Well, thank you.
Well, we've been speaking there to Sam, who is a techpreneur, just trying to bring out the best he can in terms of solving solutions that are in the education sector. We now want to cross over to our I&M studios, where we want to quickly take a quick look at how the markets have performed. And at I&M we have with us Joshua Otiende, just to help us look at how the markets have performed. Good afternoon, Joshua.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Looking at today's market summary, and we are seeing among the top gainers we have Kenya Airways, which actually went up by 10%, closing the day at 6.05. The other biggest gainer, of course, we had BAT closing the day 7.3.4% higher. Looking at KQ to be more precise, we've seen a lot of measures being taken around bailing out KQ as well as restoring it back to profitability. What do you make of today's trading numbers, Joshua?
We're seeing the market trading at during a very volatile situation. We're seeing a weakening shilling as well as a lot of volume being moved away from our markets. We're basically seeing a situation where investors are now focused on two scenarios. We're seeing where they're going for lowly priced stocks as well as stocks with very strong fundamentals. In terms of stocks that are lowly priced, we're seeing examples of KQ and, for example, Kenya Re. And in terms of fundamentals, we're seeing British American Tobacco as well as Pan-African Insurance. So basically, the volatility has forced investors to focus on stability as well as a large potential gain in terms of price.
When you speak about volatility in the markets, just break it down for us, Joshua.
Well, our markets compared to, say, for example, international markets like America, Egypt, and Nigeria, as equities compared as well with other asset classes like the bond market, is more volatile than the stocks I've mentioned. For example, if you compare the rate of return with equities compared to in Kenya compared to markets like Nigeria and Egypt that seem to be more stable than ours. So this offers an exit plan for foreign investors.
Interesting. Still keeping with the KQ stock, you've mentioned that we are seeing a lot of investors coming in to buy the lowly priced stocks in anticipation to make a kill. I would want to believe so. From where you sit, do you see KQ turning itself around in the short term or in the long term?
KQ is definitely a long-term stock in terms of the efforts being taken towards stabilizing the airline. I think this will take a long time to finally reap the fruits of the restructuring. And again, we haven't even started yet. We haven't seen significant changes happening to KQ. So in terms of whether it's a long-term or short-term, I call it as a long-term. But in the short run, we'll see a lot of speculation around the stock. We'll see it move from between 5 to 7 shillings as investors try to make a kill out of it.
Interesting there, Joshua. Let's cross over and look at some of the top losers for today. We have topping the list Everready, shedding off 8.64%, closing the day at 3.70 shillings. We also have Home Africa going down by 4.08%, as well as National Bank closing the day at 20 shillings, down 3.6%. Let's begin with Home Africa. They've recently announced that they were actually opening up one of their biggest real estate projects in Kiambu County, and on the flip side, we are seeing them being among the biggest losers. What's with this?
With them, in terms of them being one of the biggest losers, I think this is just a speculative move. We'll see the price still yo-yo around the range between 3 and 5 shillings. And this, like I mentioned, there's a lot of interest in these smallly priced stocks. We'll see a lot of activity around them. The same thing happening in the National Bank. But back to Home Africa and their real estate investment. We all know that real estate investment don't book returns sooner than, say, for example, a normal company like a bank. So in terms of feeling the impact of this project, I think it will take a long period. Whether it will affect the price of fundamentals is something we'll look closely to, but I think they are facing strong competition from real estate players like Housing Finance.
Interesting. Maybe as we wind up, Joshua, looking at the currency tradings today, we are still seeing the shilling trying to appreciate against the dollar. What do you make of this trend?
I think this trend will go towards end month. I expect a lot of pressure to come, the shilling to come against, under a lot of pressure from the dollar towards end month, as we factor in a lot of import demand from, for example, the energy sector. But in terms of stability, yes, it's gained a lot of stability. This is attributable to the efforts by the central bank. We saw them come into the market to mop up liquidity, excess liquidity through their open market operations. And we also saw the overnight interbank rate go as high as 23%. This has basically tightened liquidity in the market. It's also very interesting to note that it took the announcement of the central bank governor for the shilling to start stabilizing. So I think such announcements will still be coming through, for example, in terms of efforts by the central bank to stabilize the shilling. So we'll see a lot of reaction to news as well as fundamental changes in the money market environment.
Well, many thanks there, Joshua Otiende, an analyst with ABC Capital, giving us some perspectives around how the markets have been performing today, the biggest gainers, the biggest losers, and of course how the shilling has been performing. Well, Joshua, will be getting back with him tomorrow to give us more analysis. And on this other end, we do thank you, Samson, for making time to be with us and just breaking it down for us to see what are some of the innovations that young people can take on. Maybe Joy?
That's right. I think this is a good innovation that the Ministry of Education as well should be interested in, at least for tracking the records of students, the principals, the teachers, as well as the students. If you want to keep records of your performances from Form 1 all the way to 4, this is what you should be looking into. But thank you all for watching this edition of Business Today. I'm Joy Doreen Bira.
And I'm Abi Agina. Let's make a date tomorrow, same time, same place, where we'll be giving you more analysis into what's happening across the markets. My name is Abi Agina. On behalf of the team, we say have a good afternoon.